And so then what we use is a wallet. And so we use these words, but it's a little misnomer. I use this wallet, and what the wallet does is it doesn't store thy Bitcoin. It holds my key. So when I'm ready, it signs the transaction with my encrypted key. The money, you don't download anything. It always stays up in the cloud, up in the blockchain. See, they control the on and off ramp, but we don't have to use the on and off ramp. We can just exchange value. They can't control that. And this is what the bankers, the head of the BIS, Augustin Carson, says, the central banks have to come out with a central bank digital currency because nobody will trust money if it's not from a central bank. No, we say what money is. We take my phone. We take this bottle. We take my labor. We say what money is. And anyway, so that's what, there's all these, when you don't, and the reason why we start there is because if you don't understand that, you can't understand Bitcoin. And we can get into the technical side next if you want.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay. So.
Yeah, let's get in the technical side.
So now that you understand why.
Yeah.
When you're in New York and you're drinking your $24 martini, you're like, what's wrong with our money? When you're in Argentina or Lebanon or Turkey, you don't have to ask that question. You already know. Your money's on fire. You're looking for any solution you can, right? You move when the pain's high enough. So first thing is why? Why do we need it? We broke that down. Okay, so now what is it? Where do we want to go with that? Like, how do we use it?
Let's talk about how you use it.
Okay, so I think, while there's a lot of mystery around it, it's not any different than using like Venmo. To me, it's about the same thing. Let's first talk about this blockchain thing. Blockchain is a buzzword, but it's just one piece that makes Bitcoin what it is. Blockchain is not the invention. That's like saying a wing is the important part of an airplane. It's one piece of the airplane, but it's not the whole thing. You need all of it together. I think of the blockchain or think of Bitcoin as like this digital locker. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have a locker at the gym or at your high school or whatever, you have your public address. I'm C19. And I'm like, hey, Garrett, would you go put that envelope in my locker C19? That's my public address. And anyone can know my public address because they can go deposit in there. But then I have a private key. And only I have the key where I can go open the locker and move stuff. So imagine the blockchain is this like digital locker system. And I can put value in there and people can know my public address, but then I have a private key to move it from one locker to another. Okay, so think of it like that. Now, we have a public key, we have a private key. Now, the private key is an encrypted key. All right, so it's this long string of letters and characters. So I can plug that in if I could remember it, but it's impossible. And so then what we use is a wallet. And so we use these words, but it's a little misnomer. I use this wallet, and what the wallet does is it doesn't store thy Bitcoin. It holds my key. So when I'm ready, it signs the transaction with my encrypted key. The money, you don't download anything. It always stays up in the cloud, up in the blockchain. So that's my key. Now, the key is that, well, the key to the key is you have to protect that key. So imagine back in the gold standard days, if I had a little bit of gold, I put it in my sock drawer. If I have more gold, I'd probably go bury it in the desert somewhere and I make a treasure map. That treasure map is my key. If somebody finds that treasure map, they take my gold. If I put it under my floorboard and my house burns down, I lose my gold. So then I have to protect my key. I have to protect my map. And so now there's a couple ways to secure Bitcoin. One, I can let somebody else do it for me. So I can keep it on the exchange, let Coinbase do it. That introduces what's called counterparty risk. So now I trust them to secure it for me, but that introduces risk because what if they don't allow me to remove it? Just like the banks didn't allow you to remove gold. Right now, the battle, the attack vector right now, the fight that's coming down led by Elizabeth Warren is on self-custody. We talked about this yesterday briefly. They don't want you, they being the government, doesn't want you to own anything. So like stocks, you own Apple stock. You don't really own Apple stock. It's owed to you. You don't own money in the bank. It's owed to you. And legally, that's a really big difference. If you don't understand who you are and what the language is, you can't really play the game properly. And so they don't want you to own stocks and they don't want you to own Bitcoin either. They want you to own Bitcoin through an ETF or on the exchange, just not self-custody. That's the attack vector.
Which is, gold in an ETF is crazy to me, or even
they want
Bitcoin.
they want you to speculate. They want the money in Wall Street, not in your pocket. Right. Because you might fund terrorism with your $600. Never mind the billions that we send to them. Never mind that.
That's just their story.
That's their story.
That's our
right?
excuse. Yep.
If we can't see everything and take away 100% of your privacy and control every single interaction, how can we keep you safe?
Right. So you've got this.
If we don't lock you in a cage and give you one meal a day and inject your antibiotics every day, how can we keep you safe? Yeah. Freedom is not safety.
Right. That's yeah. So you got the key, which is the wallet, right? Is where you're storing that key.
So I can choose to let someone hold the key for me, like Coinbase. I can choose to let the ETF hold the key for me in an ETF, or that. But there's risk vectors. You have to understand what those are. or I can hold my key my own, and then the risk are that I lose my key.
Right.
So do I trust myself or do I trust somebody else? And everyone has to decide that for themselves. And there's hybrid models within that. So I told you about like a collaborative custody situation where you have 3 keys and 3 independent people hold them so they can't collaborate against you. So like there's something like that. I can have 3 separate keys. So even if I lose 1 or 2, I'm not at risk, right? So there's a whole bunch there. But that's basically what it comes down to. That's
so you're storing the same Bitcoin on multiple wallets, the key to that Bitcoin.
So instead of 1 long character, 1 key, I have 3 keys, and it would take 2 of the 3 to sign. It's like in a movie where if I want to do the launch codes, like 2 people have to put the keys in, right? So it's like that. So that's basic premise. Now, as far as using it, people think we need to get a better UI UX. I think it's pretty easy. If I wanted to send you money on Venmo right now, we'd both open our Venmo app. You would say receive, and it would show a QR code. I would say send, and I would scan your QR code.
Yep.
And then I would put in the amount and I'd send it. That's exactly how a Bitcoin wallet works. The difference is Venmo gives you a username, and Bitcoin you have a long string of characters. But if you ignore the username and just do the QR code, it's the exact same process. The difference is, in my opinion, it's way easier because again, to set up a Venmo or PayPal account requires all this documentation, KYC permission. Whereas Bitcoin, right now, you could download a wallet and send you money. So in my opinion, it's actually much easier. I think, then the next thing is like, what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is this evolutionary path and people expect way too much, way too soon. But Mark, it's been here for 15 years and no one's really using it for a medium of exchange. Okay. Well, have you been to El Salvador? 80% of all Bitcoin transactions under $1,000 are happening in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. Again, in the US, like our fiat money is pretty good. So spend in fiat, save in Bitcoin, save in gold, save in real estate. You don't spend your real estate either. So the fiat works pretty good for us here. The problem is in the United States, it's taxed. So if I wanted to use it to go around every day shopping and buy a cup of coffee, then I'm gonna have to fill out 100 tax forms every day on every single purchase I did. It's ridiculous. So that has to change. And there's a lot of people in government that are very pro Bitcoin and are working on that, including 3 presidential candidates: Bobby Kennedy, Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's these guys are out now, but Vivek, Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, they're all very pro Bitcoin. So, things could change on that at some point.
Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from. So go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.